Okay. All right, meeting is called to order at 7:02 for the Township of Sparta Environmental Commission, Thursday, May 11th, 2023. Please take notice that action will be taken on the following items at the Sparta Environmental Commission meeting tonight. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 6, 2023, by delivering to the press and posting on the township website a copy of the notice. Can you do roll call, Michelle?
Co-Chair Neil Sauerwein,
Here?
Councilman Dean Blumetti,
Here.
Linda Tower,
Here.
Rob Coles,
Here.
Kristen Rogers,
Here.
and Christine Dunbar.
Here.
Alrighty.
Thank you. All right, all rise to salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We don't have any minutes to approve tonight. There were some minutes that were sent out, but we're going to table those until next meeting. Next meeting, I would expect that we're going to have a lot of minutes to approve all at the same time again, because we're going to have some from 22 that we're still catching up on. All right. Correspondence. We have the minutes from the Sussex County Open Space Committee. If everybody had a chance to review them, we can go ahead and talk through them. If you need a minute, let me know.
Were these sent out recently, or?
I think you just got these.
With the agenda, when the last agenda
Yeah, when the
was sent.
agenda was sent out, it was sent out. It looks like they only had one item on the agenda, the Culver Brook Preserve Expansion, open space application. And it was, they're going to move forward with the next steps of the process, I guess. I don't think that's in Sparta Township. So,
Like it's at Culver's Lake, maybe?
yeah.
It's an old golf course that they're.
Oh, the Robin's Nest.
Oh, I know where it is. Yeah, that's not in Sparta. All right, any other comments or questions on that?
Did I hear you say that's where they had the golf course in back of the lake there?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Next item is Planning Board Application Number 705. It is located at 370 Lafayette and 376 Lafayette Road. And this is the expansion of the Sparta Medical Campus.
I have a question. The handout that's here from Mr. Simmons from Pello, is that the same one that was included electronically, or is this an updated version?
The same one.
Same one? Okay, thanks, Michelle.
They need a variance to move it from 40% to 43% surface water. I don't,
Impervious coverage.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the variance that they're requesting.
Yeah, it looks like the maximum is 40, they're proposing 43.4. And also, looks like there are other comments that were in the engineer's report. They have to make 3 parking spaces EV ready, and none are shown now. There was a comment about the lighting that I saw that
Yep.
The hours of operation were dusk to dawn, but wasn't clear if it was all lights or not. Landscaping, there was no mention of native species.
Yep. I noticed that too.
This storm drainage, there were a number of points on the engineer's report too. I actually have a copy. I don't know if anybody wants to look at this. I could put it out.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because I cannot see I couldn't see it online. I couldn't see it here either.
So forgive my ignorance. We issue the variance?
No.
No, okay.
We make recommendations to the planning board. So we would draft a memo to them with our advice, and they issue variances after taking all that into consideration.
I'd like to make a correction. Our chairwoman, Kimberly Noel, is here. I realized I didn't say you.
Oh, that's
I didn't have my list.
So this left one is a short one. It's more of the architect's drawings and a couple of brief citations. This one is the full site plan, multiple pages.
They're adding on over by the emergency center.
Yeah, on the left side where there's nothing there. I went to the 14,000 square foot building. That's.
It's very dangerous. So I don't want to take a look at that. Are they going to all be exiting from that side place onto the freeway?
That's a good question. I think it's going to be over there because I'm not seeing it here. It's all about the door.
I'm going to move this microphone over everyone to speak into it, but just in case. Anything that you want.
They said they were going to come onto this a little bit, right?
Yes, so the building is on lot 12.
Yeah, most is on 12, a little bit on 11.
Okay, and so can we tell where the flow of traffic is going to be?
Not from that one. Let's go to the next one.
It's going to be Primrose, that small little road here.
Yeah.
And here's the parking.
Yep.
It's actually the before picture, I think, right?
Is it?
Is that existing conditions?
Existing,
Yeah.
yeah. Here's the one with the proposed.
Yeah. So here's the
Oh,
new
see,
building.
they're adding, yeah.
Yeah, and this edge is right near Primrose. And there's also, of course, the entrance off of 15 to Primrose and also to the center of the complex.
So Primrose will have more traffic. Where's the,
Here's 15.
right, here's Primrose.
Here's
Where-
Primrose.
I'm looking for arrows.
Right here is where that big basin is that they put in
Yep,
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
existing water basin.
Yeah.
This must be the storm water drainage
And
for
there's one here
sewers.
too.
Yeah, and they're putting in a new one.
My question was about the parking lot itself. It mentioned that there's one parking space needed for every 200 square feet of the building. So they need 70. But if you take into account the whole building, they have so much parking.
Mhm.
Couldn't they maybe eliminate a parking spot or two to make them under the impervious surface requirement?
Yeah, because I think it said they're putting 77 in here. Like, why don't they just make it 70?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think when they add on the building, they have to add on the incremental required parking, even if there's a big lot there. I think in this case.
Right,
Not
so it wouldn't be
100%.
the whole parking lot going away, but if the requirement is, if the requirement is 70 and they're adding 77,
Yeah.
they might feel like they need it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, that could be one way to reduce it, maybe.
Well, the planning board's going to take a look at this also.
Yes, it's going
So
to be,
you'll see it again.
And so we'll be studying the signage and the parking
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
that.
there's a lot of signage waivers requested.
Huge.
Yeah.
It just seems like a parking waiver would be better environmentally than a impervious surface waiver.
Well, I just, in some ways think that it's so much development next to these people's houses. That's the affordable housing. And okay, you're putting this right next to them. It almost seems to be a social justice issue in some ways. And now it's gonna be even more of a hazard getting out onto 15 to go to work. So these are just things in the back of my mind.
Just looking for the plants. Should be coming up here if they put them in here.
Did they
Ah,
say they
here
were
we go.
gonna take out one Japanese lilac?
Yeah. They're gonna take out a bush. I think it's here or here. Maybe it's here.
Yeah, I mean, it is zoned for this. It's a permitted use. It is awfully close to the road though, and to me, the impervious surface is, that's,
Japanese.
well, there's a maximum for a reason, in my own
Norway.
opinion. And to keep seeing these go over the maximum, just, if you want to go under the maximum, that's fine. If you want to hit the maximum, fine, but to go over it, that's, to me, that's a big concern.
Okay.
From the scratch, I mean, just design it so it fits into 40, not go over by 8 or 9 or 10% more than that.
Certainly a good question we can ask.
I didn't see anything super invasive on here, but I didn't know, I guess this leads into our discussion later, if we just recommend native alternatives or a percentage be native or.
Sorry, I gotta take notes.
Yeah, we could recommend in our report, any of those, to the planning board. So could be that we recommend that, or we request that they, recommend or ask for all native, non-invasive.
We've done that before
Yeah.
and provide suggestions.
Yeah.
Like you can see the viburnum now is very pretty outside. Yeah.
If it's impractical, then maybe the planning might not require that. It depends. Look at the planting plan. I guess it's just all the periphery here, I guess. I don't even know. In center, obviously, when they put in the parking lot.
It's going to add a lot of more traffic to 15. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I wonder what they added. There was no traffic study.
This is a medical building.
Yeah, so, yeah. I think they're gonna carve up the inside, I think, into 4 or 5 different tenants, it looked like, or areas.
All right, so I have lighting, less parking spaces suggested, native species suggested, traffic study, anything else? Did I miss one?
Oh, the impervious surface.
Yeah, less traffic space, less parking spaces. Yeah, to reach that.
Is it
Anything else?
possible traffic implications?
Yes, I said traffic, suggest a traffic study or traffic implications, yep. Yeah, I have 4 things.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, compared to the rest of the facility, which is huge already, how much more traffic will this one building add on to it? Like, relative, I'm not sure if it's a big deal, or maybe it is. I mean, there's 70 spots or 77 spots. That could be a lot of cars.
Yeah. And I'm also concerned about the impact on the housing that is right next door, the affordable housing, in terms of quality of life for them.
So that's number 5.
I'm wondering if only 70 spaces are required, but they obviously want the full parking. I wonder with those 7 spots, would there be an opportunity to, rather than have it just be paved surfaces, there's alternative parking that you can do. What's called Turfstone is the company, but it's basically, I'm sure there's other examples, but Turfstone is one company where it's like interlocking pavers that it does allow it to drain, and you can park on it, and you can actually grow grass between it. So it can be used as parking, but it wouldn't be an impervious surface because it would drain between it. So that might be an alternative.
Yeah.
Um,
In general, too, we could just recommend that they use permeable pavement throughout, I mean, wherever
Okay.
they feasibly can. Right, because I mean, it could even be all this, right? I mean, it could be, I've seen parking lots where
yeah.
the whole thing is permeable, like
Yeah.
where the, and it's angled, so I think
Yeah,
all
it's
the
called-
parking spaces are permeable and the center might be not.
Well, you can do what's called porous asphalt, which is, I think, what you're probably talking about. So that looks like regular pavement. The one concern is that it has different treatment than regular asphalt. So I'm sure that they want to just do the same thing. That's why I was suggesting as an alternative, like overflow parking can be paved differently and not completely paved. Because if they use pavers, interlocking pavers that allow infiltration, whether it's just the stone or allows grass to grow in between, people can park on it when needed. But for the most part, this lot is not going to be 100% full at all times.
Yeah, right.
Does Sparta have definitions of what they consider to be impervious surface? Because I know in some towns, they're like, a deck is an impervious
Yeah,
surface. It
I don't
doesn't
know.
allow enough infiltration. So there probably are.
I believe there are. It's interesting because this back little row here is about, what, 8 or 9 spots? So
Yeah,
that, and it's
so that
so
might
far
be
back,
a-
that could be a great place to
Yeah,
put
that might be a
that
good
one little
spot.
section there.
Because one thing, like going back to the porous asphalt you were talking about, one thing that you have to do is you wouldn't want to use any kind of grit on the lot because that clogs the pores and then it prevents it from draining. So that's like a winter management concern.
Okay.
And it's a little bit more expensive. It's supposed to be durable, but depending on the truck traffic that would be coming through, they don't usually recommend it for locations where any big trucks are going to be doing any kind of sharp turns or anything. It's usually just for like car parking is what we've been told.
Okay.
Where is their loading dock? Is that this right here? They said they're only going to have one, not two, right?
In the back, I think this is a building. I think it's going to be connected or touch right next to a building on this side.
So maybe this?
No, I think it's going to be flush. I think it's right up against the. Like, there's not going to be any space. Here's the existing building,
Oh.
I think, and it's
Oh,
going to be,
okay.
I think it's going to be flush.
The reason I'm
believe.
asking is because maybe we're thinking of having the impervious parking tiles over there. But maybe it's around here and trucks would be loading
That's
and
true.
going through that area.
Yeah.
Can we just recommend, granting that variance?
Yeah. Yep. Yes, and we're going to give them some suggestions also. Yeah. They may not listen to us, but
Septic.
yeah, exactly. Alternatives.
And is this going to have the rock in the bottom like many of the other basins? I don't know.
I don't think.
Because, well, one thing we've seen a lot in Sparta, and I don't see in other towns, is that the infiltration basins here are typically completely stone lined. So I wasn't sure if this is also going to be like that, but what you can do is you can actually put plants in them, which would help treat additional nutrients. So that would be a preferred method rather than completely stone lining the entire stormwater basin.
I don't think they're going to be using that big stone
Yeah.
anymore because it's got so expensive.
Okay,
And that was the preference of the designer.
yeah.
All right, I'll add that one in too.
No,
last week
no,
they
I
did-
just, I just talked to the designer, actually. It's on Dykstra.
But that's something maybe we should look into as a group, if there is any ordinance on the books that's recommending that as a practice, because I don't see it in other towns
Yeah.
as often as it's occurring in Sparta.
It's definitely very detailed in the ordinances, and I think there's like 2 or 3 like acceptable, or they go into a lot of detail. I didn't like comprehend the whole thing.
Yeah.
But maybe if one of them's better than the other, then.
Yeah, because when you think about, like the medical building right on 15, the ShopRite, Pope John's Basin,
Yeah.
they all are completely stone lined.
This one says sand if you have a magnifying glass. I don't-
Is that inspiring the back, right?
What's over
Thank you.
here? Oh, how they're going to plant.
This is also in a wellhead protection area.
Hmm.
100% of this lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's let them know that too.
And they're gonna seal a well that's in parking space number 4?
Yeah, I saw
We
that.
don't, because.
I'm not sure if that's the well that makes it a wellhead protection area. I think the wellhead protection area is much larger than, but it could be. We'll have to ask that, see. Probably at the planning board meeting to see if that is the well. If they're closing it, then it's no longer in the wellhead protection area. But that data though was, being that well is not being used, I would be surprised if it still shows, well, as a wellhead protection area, but
We must not need it, so they're closing it off.
that well, yeah.
Yeah,
But there could be other wells all around there,
yeah.
maybe even across the street from the
So
farm.
they're usually within the same.
A township well?
I believe so. Well. Like a private well that hasn't been used, that the farm, from the farm that was once there,
I don't know.
or,
Maybe
I
that
actually don't
possibility.
know. It just said it was going to be closed.
Hmm.
The wellhead that was in parking space 4.
Right, I did notice
Yeah.
that.
So can we just recommend then, if this one doesn't cover off, can we recommend that the basin actually gets planted?
Yeah,
Yeah, I wrote that down. That's our number 6, and our number 7 is letting them know it's in a wellhead protection area. Do we have any comments we want to write about the well being sealed up?
It's a question that we need to have answered, you know?
I'm not sure what the question would be though, because I know the engineer recommended that it be sealed appropriately based on NJDEP standards or whatever the proper way to seal it is by the engineering standards. And we could ask why,
Yeah.
maybe,
why?
is that the question? Like, why is it being
Why?
closed?
Yeah, why is it being closed?
Okay.
I'm wondering why they're removing the existing burning bushes to establish a lawn for visibility, maybe?
Thought it was because they were invasive.
Yeah,
Oh, our burning bushes,
they are beautiful, but they are so invasive.
they are, okay.
I doubt that's the reason though.
Yeah.
I don't think, I know. I think
Because
you're
they
confusing
want to
enough, yeah.
plant a native serviceberry there.
Yeah, there must be something with visibility or line of sight or something, I don't know.
I think I did see something about line of sight in here.
I know there's questions too, not for this group to worry about, but there's, I think, a sign that was like a foot or 2 away from the street here that was, blocks the line of sight, I think on this corner, that they're looking for, it's like a 1 foot in or something, it's, yeah,
Oh.
very, very close.
And then there was something in the engineer's report about these being too close to Primrose Lane, these parking spots. I think.
Jeez. Still don't see where that loading dock is.
I didn't see anything about bringing soil in, right? I just saw,
1, 3, and 22 are located within 50 feet of the Primrose Lane right of way.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Linda. What did you say?
Parking spaces 1 to 3 and 10 to 22 are located within 50 feet of the Primrose Lane right of way.
Hmm.
Got the planning board.
I would
Okay.
just, again, like, we could solve, you know, two problems at the same time. The only reason why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Existing, and this is, well, there's going to be a, where something.
Like. Guess it must be just connecting it here.
That's the entryway.
The south side that's facing Primrose, because here's the background, the higher building behind it.
Mm.
But there's no loading, is it loading door? Not a dock, right? Is that what you're looking for? You may not have, it is kind of like a medical, not, manufacturing or, you don't have an actual.
I wonder if they had, well, they wouldn't take them by ambulance there, would they? But they may have a bigger transport type of
Yeah.
situation from the hospital to the doctor or.
Okay.
We just knocked this off.
Anything else?
Yeah.
We got 8 comments right now. Okay. All right, next item, and I don't think we have the plans, I don't think we have bigger plans for this, is the Sparta High School point roof mount photovoltaic system solar capital improvement plan. So essentially, the high school's getting solar panels on the roof, lots of them. And they've signed a 15-year power purchase agreement, which was fully executed on September 9th.
Is there, I'm wondering if there's a possibility we do this next meeting, is that it? Because we haven't seen this yet.
I think it went out. You didn't get a chance to look at it? We can table it if you want to.
I don't have to check my email. Did it go out today?
I'll have to see when that's on, because it was sent pursuant to some kind of a rule or a law that, because they're doing it, and that's why it was sent to us.
Oh,
I have access to my
See,
emails.
I know it's not going to be on the agenda next Wednesday for the planning board, as far as I understand.
okay,
the
so we
next-
don't have to rush.
As far as I understand,
Okay.
and the next planning board meeting will be June 7th. So
And
was
we're
this
meeting, our next meeting is May,
25th?
I was gonna say 25th, is it? Yeah. So that would give us time if we did table it.
Michelle, have you heard anything differently about scheduling this? Do you know?
Nope.
No.
I believe the agenda's already done for the planning board. So.
Okay.
Wow,
That
there
wasn't on
seems
there.
to be a lot.
Yeah, they're going to put a lot there. All right, do I have I can make a motion to table it to the next meeting, the high school solar capital improvement plan? So we have time to review it. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Tabled. All right. Public comment, we have no public here. Reports. Dean, do you want to go first, or Christine, would you like to
I
go?
was not at the last planning board meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, so.
No
I do
report?
not have a report.
okay.
And actually, last planning board meeting was extremely brief, so there was no major developments happening, no pun intended. Nothing substantial. Just that there was some conversation around evaluating the professionals that serve the planning board, just because back in the beginning of the year, the thinking was to give them some time to get to know the planning board and vice versa. So there was just conversations around that process starting up again to do some evaluation. So for the council, there was a company offered, or a resolution to offer a small contract to a company to do some GIS mapping for the township. I forget if it's 40 hours, 60 hours. It's unlimited, just to update some of our maps. There was some extensive discussion around the charter and scope for a reconstituted economic development committee. That's still underway. The only as it pertains to our group a little bit, there was this last Saturday, the trout derby, the kids youth trout derby
Yep.
at Station Park, and there was a recreation department did a wonderful job, even with the fields and just running the program. The Trout Unlimited volunteers were there, and there was a good turnout. Kids were having a lot of fun. They were catching fish. They were getting their feet wet a little bit. So it wound up being a great event. Really, lots of families out, and it was a wonderful day for the town, I think. And then also, just finally, housekeeping note, there was discussions that were, the council's planning to move the council meetings to a 7 p.m. start. So that's, my understanding is that's probably going to be on the next agenda as a resolution. There seemed to be consensus amongst the council to move it to 7 o'clock instead of 7:30. So I'm still subject to vote, but that should be coming up next. And, sorry. Okay, yeah.
Do you know what maps are going to be updated?
I don't, no. I just know there's a little bit of a backlog I've heard in terms of some of the township maps. I don't know which ones yet, though, but I think the company is going to be working closely, I guess, with the engineer and probably with Debbie Card, I guess, to figure out which maps have to be updated. Do you know anything else on that?
Well, the professional that was hired was the map GIS person for Sparta Township years ago. Just the way that he had to go through Jessica Caldwell Associates, that's who's doing it now. And so he probably knows the software, and, I know he'd have to update it. It's been a while since he's been here. But I would think that, coming out of the planning, zoning, engineering department, that's who he'd be working with, but it's real closely with the engineer.
And then finally, although it's not really related to Environmental Commission per se, but wanted to share that the Sparta Historical Society is running an event to salute and say thank you to our veterans. It's going to be in June. It's a 2-day event, so it's going to be Saturday, June 10th and Sunday, June 11th, both days starting 11 a.m. over at the Van Kirk Museum, the Historical Society property. And it's going to be to thank veterans and their families, and also to exhibit some military equipment from an assortment of wars, vehicles. There's going to be an enactment, an encampment, And there's also going to be someone from the Veterans Association there, administration there, to answer questions that veterans may have. So it's going to be a really nice event to be out there and thanking the veterans and recognizing them and their families, and also learning a little bit about the history of some of the wars and some of the equipment. And there will be food available for purchase as well, and there'll be a donation bucket. Admission is free, but donation bucket for splitting the proceeds between the Historical Society and the Wounded Warriors Project. So, yeah, it's really, just wanted to share that because it's a wonderful event to try to support.
There's flyers out front on the left and on the right when you leave, if you'd like a flyer.
Great, thank you.
That concludes my report.
All right. Okay, unfinished business. So as folks know, we did submit 2 grants. We have not heard. We are supposed to hear at least for one of them in mid-May. That was the first one we submitted, I think it was in January. So that one we're supposed to hear by mid-May, so hopefully we're almost to mid-May. I don't know, getting really close, so hopefully we'll hear soon. And that was the one regarding green businesses. So it's perfect timing if the Economic Development Committee is back up and running. We can start talking about that. Okay, Great Waters Resolution. We were able to get the approximate number of miles of streams and rivers. I wonder if we want to read this into the record.
Get a couple questions.
Sure, go ahead.
So I was curious about, I was a little confused with I think it's great, first of all, by the way. It's wonderful. And I actually gave a mention of this during my update at the council meeting on Tuesday, that this was being worked on and coming down the pike.
Yep.
So the miles, I see the approximate miles of streams. And then when I see the footnote in the back, it mentions the watersheds and certain locations that are pretty far outside of Sparta. So I wasn't sure how it was calculated a little bit. I mean, and the numbers add up, but I wasn't sure if the miles were actually in Sparta or those were the miles of water in those watersheds, I guess.
I think I can answer that. Those are the miles for each watershed within the township of Sparta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what confused me, though, is so the Paulinskill one, it said above Stillwater Village.
Well, that's just a general designation that they always use for our general area. But they're not calculating the miles from the village of Stillwater to Sparta.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
That was
it's
throwing me
just-
off.
If you look at like the NJ map 2, and you look at the watersheds all laid out, they always have that, above or below Stillwater is very significant.
So if you're counting the watersheds, you're not measuring in square feet? How are we measuring in miles if it's?
I'm thinking that they're just doing a linear measurement. And this was the Highlands Council that did this for us, and they sent it to their mapping people. And this is what they came up with, because I was wondering if they would do like the surface area. It seemed like I would want to do the surface area of the lakes, or at least the perimeter of a lake. So I'm thinking, because this number to me is very low,
For watershed,
that
yeah.
they did just a linear. And they probably had their parameters, so they couldn't do every single little creek, so they had some sort of guidance on that. But the percentages are much what I expected, when you compare the Wallkill and then the Paulinskill. Yeah.
It's like, just for instance, so for the Wallkill River, so we're saying that within Sparta, there is 55 linear miles of Wallkill River in Sparta?
It starts up by Pine Swamp,
It goes from Lake Mohawk, right?
and
Flows
but it
north.
flows into Lake Mohawk and all the way down, all the way up by Pine Swamp. So it flows all the way down Glen Road from Sparta Mountain, all the way down, and then you also goes into Lake Mohawk and then back out.
I sort of counting all the tributaries.
I don't know if they went all the way that far, but that number doesn't surprise me.
Because that would be
given
like the Sparta Glen Brook, which is different than the Wallkill, right? But I guess they're considering the Wallkill and its tributaries, maybe.
No, so I think what it is like these designations are the sub-watershed designation of each watershed. So that's just like Chris was saying, that's on like a NJGO web is how they define it as well. So I would think within each sub-watershed, then they're gonna count within that area, the tributaries that would drain to the Wallkill. So I would think Glenbrook is counted in this. And Wallkill, I would think it's all of the sections, even like behind the middle school where it's all braided and it's multiple channels. I would think that counts all of it.
Okay. If we believe this is accurate, and I don't have any reason not to think that, maybe just the description, so the average reader would see it more clearly, is that we say that it's for instance, the Wallkill River and its tributaries, or we say Pequest River and its tributaries, and that we just clarify that includes some of the tributaries, and maybe remove some of those above and above and above, because I think that,
But I think this is like a standard that DEP uses, and that's like how it's labeled. So I don't know if we should change the labeling,
Okay. Yeah.
because that is how it's broken out. When you're looking, it's defined by a certain HUC number, it's
Yeah.
called, which is just a sub-watershed.
okay.
So they each have a HUC number, and then, but that doesn't mean anything to the average person. So that's why they have like descriptions. So if you went on, if you went online and looked at all the sub watersheds to the Wallkill, they have different designations. So this wouldn't be the only one for the Wallkill. There would be numerous, and they would just have they would have above road to Martins, and then they might have below road to Martins, and they have just different descriptions. So I don't know if we should change that because that corresponds
So maybe we could just
to the
add
data.
linear miles within the following watersheds or sub-watersheds,
Within Sparta,
Yeah.
just to be clear, yeah,
Yeah.
just like a little title.
yeah.
Should we also note the Highlands Council provided this information or something along those lines?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are no questions.
I think there will be questions when people read that, especially if they're not here tonight to understand that. People might read it right away and say, well, above Stillwater Village, well, there's a lot of linear water above Stillwater Village before you get to Sparta. So it could be confusing or misleading, I think. So,
That's what I thought when I saw 55 miles of the Wallkill River, because the Wallkill River itself is 55 miles.
yeah,
as far
yeah.
as-
And so including tributaries then, yeah, that's a good idea.
So this was probably done just in like a GIS type program, and they can pull up the sub-watershed, and then DEP has all the data for the stream layers. So they probably can just take the sub-watershed and then cut the information and just have the streams and add it up, is how I'm thinking this was calculated.
Yeah, it didn't take them a long time.
No.
It was like a day and a half, and they're like, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess you do feel it's important to leave in that the phrases and parentheses, just to be technically correct, even though probably important to keep that, you think?
I think so, because this is how the Highlands Council presented it to us. And they are responsible for managing the water in Sparta, the Highlands water, right? They take care of it, the drinking water, and make sure that, it's not polluted. So this is, from them, so I don't think we should alter it.
So maybe we can just say above, on that back page, above Musconetcong River. What if we just said sub-watersheds
In
with,
Sparta.
yeah, exactly. Sub-watersheds within Sparta.
Okay.
Okay, I think I think something maybe just to help answer questions before they come back, it becomes a big issue. And then, sorry, the second paragraph in the front about it contains 95.45 miles, streams and rivers. It says including those lakes. I'm wondering if that actually means plus, right? Or in addition to those lakes? Is it, the way it reads, it says including those lakes.
I'm not understanding, I'm sorry.
So you almost wanted to say as well as, or,
Is that
right?
I wanted to ask the question. I'm not suggesting. Yeah, is that what it means? I think it means in addition to those 95 miles, the lakes are separate.
Yes.
No,
I read it the other
No, I
way.
wouldn't think so. I
Oh.
would think when it says including,
including the lakes, they've calculated that into the miles.
right.
It's not on the back, though.
But those lakes are within some of these watersheds, like the Walk Hill River watershed. And that's where we get,
We could go back and ask if they included the lakes or
Yeah,
not.
I got, that's, so I just was wondering, is that,
So for Mohawk, you're looking at 9 miles of perimeter?
or is it yeah, is it perimeter or linear? That's,
Linear,
we're
yeah.
talking linear, so how do you?
Probably perimeter, right? No?
I
Actually,
don't know. I don't think it's 9 miles from one end to the
No,
other.
it's 3
because-
miles.
Because if you run around it, like
It's
my
nine.
grandson does, it's, yeah.
It's 9 around,
8
it's
or 9.
3 linear,
Okay.
plus or minus.
So do we want to find out if it's definitely including the lakes or not in their calculations? I don't remember what she, I
Or
don't,
how they're calculating. it,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
How they're including it.
So I mean, the numbers on the back under that footnote definitely add up to 95.45 for those 5 numbers of linear rivers. I guess the question is, do those linear rivers include the lakes?
does it make a material difference to what we're trying to state here, do we think, or,
Clarity, maybe.
yeah? Okay.
I mean, we could just keep being we have the numbers already for the streams and rivers, just change the sentence structure a little bit. So that's the streams and rivers. And then plus, we also in Sparta have all these other lakes, which are wonderful waters for recreation, drinking, all the, I don't know if that would be a fix.
Okay, so instead of including, just put period and then in addition.
I don't think that that's what it's saying. But, and if we change it, then I think that we should definitely get a clarification. I think it's saying that the 95 miles includes Lake Mohawk, Lake Saginaw.
Yeah, because there's a difference between including and in addition to, so I think,
We could take out all reference to the lakes, period.
I mean,
Well, I don't think we can do that because the title says, mentions recreation. And most of our recreation is done on the lakes.
would it be
Plus,
difficult to
sorry.
just email the person that we got this from and ask?
No?
Are the lakes
if it's-
included?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are the
Or
lakes
like,
included?
is this linear
I
feet
can do that.
of
Yeah,
the lakes and?
I think you should include the lakes.
I think
I
so.
think
Here's
so.
why.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's one thing to say 95 miles of streams and rivers, and if you have no interest in those things, but you want your water clean, it doesn't mean anything. But the lakes, maybe you live around that lake, maybe you use that lake, means something more.
Yeah.
all right. Christine Dunbar, can I ask you to email?
I
Highland?
will ask them if the 95.45 miles of streams and rivers did include the lakes that we're mentioning, or any lake for that matter. I
Yeah.
know that we put in the larger ones.
Yeah,
here.
I-
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to list every
Yeah,
lake,
no,
that'd be too
that's,
much.
that's fine. I'll also ask them, because I hear people asking this question, that how were they measured?
Linear or,
Linear, perimeter, or
Okay.
whatever. But once I have that clarified, I would also think that you would want to add Fox Hollow Lake.
okay,
And
That
I
is
don't know
another big
whether
one.
you're including in the Lake Mohawk, the upper lake. Now, the upper Lake Mohawk is important because that feeds into the Fox Hollow Lake. And so that's actually the headwaters of the Pollenskill tributary.
okay.
I guess where do we draw the line to? There's how many lakes and ponds in Sparta? Like 30? Or,
There's a lot in the township.
yeah.
There, there's a little bit more than what's on here. So the question is, are you only including ones that are part of, because did you just say, Christine, that the upper lake goes into Fox Hollow?
Does.
And so Fox Hollow is part of the tributary? of-
Hollandskill.
So
and then it
that's the
goes-
question. Now you either have to include all the lakes, or are you
It
just?
does say, and many other waters. I'm not
many-
sure
yeah, there
Just the
are.
large ones
listing
might
all the
be-
lakes is material to what
Right,
we're trying to
right.
do
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Every lake here is part of one of the watersheds.
One of the
right?
watersheds, yeah.
In essence, so.
And I have a pond on my property. Should I live at Kimball? No.
Make sure it's in there.
Kim's Pond. So that's good. And, honestly, once this is submitted to the council, if the council likes it or if there's a approval of, it's going to go to the lawyers and
Yeah.
to make it into a Sparta resolution anyway. So it's going to be wordsmith and, yeah, so I'm sure it's going to be updated a bit.
Any other questions or comments?
I do have
Sure,
a big one.
sure.
The part that says without harm to agriculture. Now, from what I know is one of the main reasons, if not the main reasons, that we do have degraded waters and polluted waters that do not meet EPA standards in our area is because of agricultural practices. So I would rather see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4,
was gonna say,
5,
where are
6, 7,
That one.
8, little of those paragraphs down on the first page where it says, whereas agriculture is an important activity and no additional restriction or undue burden should be placed on agriculture with regard to water withdrawals. Well, we're trying to keep our water healthy and clean for recreation, but we're not saying that they should follow best management practices, because unless they do that, we're never going to have water that is really super safe for animals and kids and everything to swim in and then swallow and everything.
Are we,
Somewhere in here, we don't want to harm agriculture, but we have to say something about encouraging them to follow best management practices. That's what I'm saying.
so it says, which are already regulated by the Water Supply Management Act. That doesn't include best practices that you're referring to?
Where are you?
That same paragraph. With regard to water withdrawals, which are already regulated by the Water Supply Management Act.
I don't know.
Okay, maybe that's the next thing we should look into, see if that, they include
so
best practices
This
there.
seems very narrow. It's just about the withdrawals, not
Right.
about what they're applying to the soil or anything like that, or how they're tilling their land or so on.
So that was the only observation that I made is that's the big push that many of us have been making for so long, is to try to help these farms manage a little bit more sustainably so that we can have that quality of water we're striving for.
Okay, so add something there about best practices regarding,
Best management practices.
okay.
I would say that, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I kind of feel though that this is restricted to just the water withdrawal part. So I guess the question is what that Water Supply Management Act includes. And does it account for the best management practices?
Yeah, that's a good question. 'Cause if that does, then we don't have to really change much. If it doesn't, then we might want to add another small little whereas.
Yeah.
That,
Is the Water Supply Management Act a state regulation?
I don't know. Anybody know? All right, so we'll look that up too and make a potential change for that too.
It is a state.
It's a state one?
Assets.
Okay. Anything else? comments or questions? So right now I have changes to, or I'm sorry, we'll find out how much the water, sorry, Highland Council, what they included in there regarding lakes or not, if they did a linear measurement, and then add a couple additional lakes, and also look up this Water Supply Management Act. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks great.
Okay. All right. Last time we started talking about invasive plants in Sparta, and particularly planting invasive plants. The issue was some folks were planting bamboo, and there was a complaint that came in regarding it. So Dean, thank you so much. Dean had the lawyer look into what we currently have in place for Sparta Township regarding invasive and non-native plants, any ordinances that we have in place. And it looks like we do not have too many. So, and then Christine, thank you very much, reached out to Anjac and got some sample ordinances from other organizations. I don't know, my suggestion is that somebody, if anybody's willing to volunteer as an action item, take the memos and craft something that they would like to send back to the group as a draft to consider. I don't know if anybody feels comfortable doing that. Digest the sample ones a little bit and then create a draft for this group to start to look at.
Can we talk a little bit more about like how broad we want this to be? Because I read some of these online. Some of them are
Sure.
super, super broad.
Yeah,
And then there are parts of them that I think might be very easy to implement and parts of them that might be a big struggle. So I guess I don't know like which direction we want to go in and, you know, how we want to package it, I guess. So I could volunteer if I knew those things.
yeah. I think for me, my main focus or opinion of what we should focus on is planting majorly invasive plants such as bamboo and Japanese knotweed, which are actively sold. And then people think it's okay because they're able to buy it in the store. They don't even realize that it's not, you know, really something you should be planting. And I think the other focus would be on commercial and when you're developing properties, like making sure that they're using best practices, not planting invasives and using native plants.
Can I ask a question too about clarifying? So what is everyone's definition of, or difference between invasive, native, non-native, invasive, non-invasive? Maybe should we be clear on that too? And what are we trying to address here? Are there differences? And I don't have a
I think
whole
there's
answer myself.
established definitions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That we would be consistent.
yeah. Because a native plant can be aggressive,
right,
and that's different than being invasive.
yeah.
Invasive plant is truly one that is not from the environment that they're being planted in.
So or that's a question, are all non-natives invasive in the same way, the other way?
No.
No,
No, right? Okay.
yeah. Because not all non-natives will invade other
Right.
spaces.
And there's native invasive.
Yes.
Okay, so that.
No, there's not native invasive. You can't be native and
Yeah,
invasive. You
okay.
can be native and aggressive.
That's where that's what I just want to level set, because I don't have 100% clarity on
Yeah,
those iterations myself, so.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's discussion on whether native plants can be invasive or not, but in my opinion, it doesn't really matter if they're invasive.
Because they're native.
Right. Like you might not want them taking over your garden, but then you
They're
weed
aggressive.
it. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So invasive means it takes over from native plants then, right? Is that what?
Yeah. Or it just grows so fast or has such advantages over, you know, other plants you find in the area that it outcompetes everything.
And offers very little support to native wildlife.
Yeah.
But here's an example, Japanese maples. They're decorative. They're not invasive, are they? In Maryland, they are.
They are invasive.
They are invasive.
Yeah.
Depends where they're growing,
Yeah,
because they'll be drowned out. Like Sparta Mountain, they're not going to spread too far.
yeah.
Because the oaks and whatever else is going to drown out all the light. They're not going to grow.
Yeah.
But in places like Maryland and Virginia, they're now considering calling them invasive because they've had them take over certain areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, it's regional, I
So it's
suppose,
regional, yeah, regional.
Yeah, that's,
definition wise.
but I've never seen a Japanese maple in a forest around here when I'm hiking.
Right.
But what I'm starting to see a lot of are those calorie pear,
Mhm.
or Bradford pears they used to be called.
Yeah.
They're lining the 517. Where did they come from? They came from where I live, in Sparta Commons, because our whole driveways are lined with calorie pear. But
Yep.
that could have been a witch hazel that is maybe a host plant for a swallowtail, and that whole web of life is disrupted.
Butterfly bushes are invasive too.
Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes,
And they readily sell those.
yes. And I knew before I knew better, I was like, oh, butterfly bush is great. I'm going to plant these
You get
because it was
hummingbirds,
for
too.
sale.
Yeah.
Butterflies, butterflies are
Yeah.
good, right?
Yeah.
Butterflies.
Sometimes non-native things become good though, right? Like honeybees. They're not native to here.
They're
But
good for humans.
they're good for humans. They're not good for the native bee species. but-
No.
No, and
No.
native bees are good for humans too.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
But we don't think of them as invasive.
Right.
We
Right.
think of them as good, save the bees. It's just witch bees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would suggest we don't try to address insects though. Right now.
Well, no, I
In
know.
this
We got enough going on.
Come on.
That's for another day.
That's another day. I agree we should address it, but not
Bring an
today.
apiary person.
So do you want to take a stab at it? Or maybe you and I can work on it together?
yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
I also
Just like to have a
didn't know how
partner.
much could we talk when we're not in this meeting.
We can,
Okay.
As long as it's not a quorum.
as long as it's not a
Okay.
quorum,
Gotcha.
yeah. No more than 3 people.
I was going to ask questions this week, and I'm like, I don't know if I
Are we basing invasive off of a certain, like beyond just saying that that it would take over and outcompete natives? What are we basing the standard on? Like, is it going to be, if it's on the New Jersey strike team's list of invasives, like, is there an actual criteria that we're going to?
That's my suggestion is that we use, I think there is a strike team list and there's another organization that puts out a list every year too.
Rutgers?
Is it Rutgers? Yeah.
Rutgers might, yeah.
Yeah. That's my suggestion. And we
Yeah.
don't list specific ones because you just refer to that list, whatever that year's list is, would be my suggestion. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, that's what I was thinking, that we
Yeah.
should just have a consistent document that we're citing rather than, like, the Japanese maple is a good example, right?
because-
Is it invasive? Is it just non-native?
Right.
And like,
And
what's
as
the
things get
criteria?
warmer, it might become invasive here, right? Because it's warmer down there, that's probably why it's spreading faster. It's not dying in the winters. So,
So this, just to be clear, the scope is going to be all non-native, right? Native versus non-native. Are we also going to address specifically invasive?
I think we're going to address specifically invasive and non-native.
Okay, so it's going to have two elements to it. Okay.
I don't know, we may meet and say we need 2 separate policies of some kind.
I'm gonna add something real quick. I talked to my forester, and he said if you guys would be interested, he's not coming all the time, but he would happily come here for a meeting, address any questions that you might have
Oh,
or
that'd be
anybody
great.
might have.
Yeah.
But he said, let me know. I'd happily talk to the commission.
Who's your forester?
Andy Bennett.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridge and Valley.
Yep, Ridge Valley. Good dude.
All right, great. Do you want to help with this one too?
What am I
Little
gonna do?
subcommittee?
No.
No,
Thank
okay. All right, anything else on that? All right. New business, so the annual report is due to the town council by, I think it's June 30th. Or I don't think it has a specific date, it's in June. So I did start a draft, which I can share next time with or in between meetings for any comments. What's included in that is all the meetings that we've had, like just basically a listing of meeting dates, how many meetings for each quarter, applications that were reviewed, and then additional items, like there's grants that were applied for, the Earth Day Fair, of course, presentation about the Great Waters, and then any other things other than the planning board applications that we reviewed.
Sustainable Jersey.
Sustainable Jersey I put in there, trainings I put in there, yep, yep,
This runs from July 1st,
yep,
2022 to June 30th, 2023.
yep, exactly. Okay. Other new business is Keen Skylands, actually starting tomorrow evening, is having a Bio Bliss. It seems amazing. I wish I could go, actually. And basically what they're doing, it starts at 5 p.m. tomorrow and runs till 11 o'clock at night, and then 6 a.m. and then on Saturday until 5 o'clock on Saturday. And what they're doing is for each different, like, say you're going to look for reptiles. So they'll have folks go and you'll search for reptiles and see how many you find and how many kinds and all that kind of stuff. And so for plants, reptiles, all different kinds of animals and stuff, they're doing that at Keen Skylands. So I don't know if anybody can make it. It seems great.
This is on their website?
Yeah. You do have to pre-register if you're interested. But everybody's welcome and it doesn't cost anything. All right, was there any other new business?
I had a question. And I guess it's related to the GIS mapping. Are we actively working on a new open space plan? Because when I was here observing the meeting a couple months ago, it was mentioned as part of Sustainable Jersey. And so I was looking it up, and our last one was like in 97.
Yes.
And if we're updating the GIS maps, there's a couple things that are specifically called out that we would need for the open space plan. So maybe it would be a good opportunity to move that along a little bit.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, planning board liaison, or is the planning board talking about it?
If you would like to make a suggestion or have a question, I will ask it when we meet next week.
But is the open space plan being updated? I thought we were talking about that, right?
There's conversations and plans to look at the master plan. Yeah, either big chunks of it or to redo it. So that's still in discussion.
Okay.
I'm not sure the exact relationship between the open space plan and the master plan, if it's a component of it or if it's just a related document.
This would just be, I mean, I only noticed it because it was part of the Sustainable Jersey as part of that designation, which I think we want. And it's interesting that you messaged Jessica, the planning,
Mr. Caldwell, the
yeah,
mapping?
Jessica
Yeah.
Caldwell. They do open space plans as part of their consultancy too. So just another dot to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should look into that. I know we have the open space plan. And it wasn't updated since when?
1997, I think.
97?
And Rutgers did it. It looked like.
All right.
Yeah, my assumption is while we're looking at the master plan, it's a perfect time to
Yeah.
do that visioning and do that, refresh that.
Agree. All right, anything else? All right, motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Second?
second his motion.
Rob, second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good to see you. How have you been? Getting any fishing done?
Zero.